Здорово, ребята! Как дела? Okay guys, so the second video about our talents, and we're gonna go through 60, 75 and 90 over here. So let's start with 60 right away. That spec is gonna be buffed. It's gonna be up to 50% of maximum health, healing us, and it's no longer sacrifice the pet as much as it just does damage to a pet, so you can easily heal your pet back up once you're despecting yourself. Another good thing about the spec is that there's no runic power cost. So this talent in retrospect is really good when you're getting burst heavily damaged. But the problem, the way I see it is right now with the Death Knight, is that we're getting trained down to the ground, and we absolutely have no breathing room ourselves. We get constantly trained 100% of the time. So in that case, the spec, I think, follows shortly due to the other two talents. Now, the other two talents, you would think that the Blizzard would actually update their sites compared to beta, but guess what? Vampiric Blood is actually gonna be a core talent for Blood Decays. But we're getting a new talent, which is Conversion, which is continuously converts 10 of your runic power to 3% of your health. Roughly right now, it's gonna be 50% more effective than actually Recuperate. Of course, there's a good price tied into it, but I still think it might be a little bit too overpowered. Now, Death Siphon on average right now hits anywhere from 10 to 12k non-crit and heals you anywhere from 7.5 to 9k if you don't have a mass effect. So with that said, when you comparing Death Siphon to Conversion, it's not gonna be raw healing, but it's also gonna be about how much actually damage plus healing will Death Siphon do compared to just healing from Conversion. Death Siphon is gonna be casting one death rune, so they are not gonna be very easy to pull off, but not as difficult either. So in my retrospect, I think that Death Siphon could be really good for Unholy Decays, especially us getting an extra ranged nuke. Death Siphon is gonna be Shadow Frost damage, so it's gonna be both good for Unholy and Frost. Frost Decays have already Howling Blast. We don't have any good ranged nuke that is tied into our runes, so Death Siphon is really going to be pretty good at there. Conversion is going to be really good for Frost Decays because they're going to have a lot more runic power regeneration. I'm going to talk about the synergy of the presences and Conversion at the last video. It's probably going to be next week, beginning of the next week. So far, let's reiterate. The good sustained healing gonna come from Conversion. The mixture of damage and healing is gonna be the Siphon. The pure burst healing is gonna be Death Pact, but in my opinion, Death Pact falls shortly against the Death Siphon and Conversion. Death Pact could be good actually in duels if you're getting burst on, and in duels, yes, you will probably be able to heal yourself for 50%, and you probably won't be able to heal yourself for that amount of HP via Conversion and Death Siphon. But let's face it, in Arena it's a completely different game and you will need that sustained healing, so that's where Death Pact is gonna fall short. In RPGs, in my opinion, Conversion again and Death Siphon are gonna be very good. I think that the Death Pact, however, is gonna be really good if the Blood Decay tanks are gonna be available and viable. On top of it, Death Pact could be a little bit better in RPGs because you have 3 or 4 healers healing your ass, so you will need that extra burst healing every now and then. But then again, we will see and then we will decide which is what. The second one we have, which is number 75, and actually well pre-last, is we have a choice between Blood Tap, Runic Empowerment and Runic Corruption. First of all, to tell you straight away, the most good, sustained, predictable rotation we have will provided by Runic Corruption. That shit is absolutely amazing. I'm really not a big fan of Runic Empowerment because it makes you a little bit clunky. It kinda messes up your priority system. I'm talking about Applied Boss Decay, DPS, and as a Frost Decay and Unholy Decay. And of course a PvP, that's a both. So I like Runic Corruption a lot more. But Runic Empowerment could also be good when you need those extra runes right away and you try to finish off the target. Runic Empowerment goes off more of like a burst. But something that is very interesting and caught my eye is a Blood Tap. Now Blood Tap, basically every 3 Death Coils or 3 basically Frost Strikes, you're gonna get a Death Rune, which I think is amazing because Necrotic Strike, Death Siphon, and Soul Reaper, which is our new ability, the finisher, will require Death Runes. So in that retrospect, the Death Runes are gonna be a lot higher on priority for us than they were before in Cataclysm. So in that retrospect, maybe it is gonna be worth going with the Blood Tap, especially because of Frost Presence is gonna increase our runic power regeneration by 100%, and on top of it, Frost Decays will regenerate stupid amount of runic power just through their melee. So with that spec, if Decays won't run out of the runic power and would be able to actually provide a good amount of Death Call Frost Strikes, then Blood Tap would actually come as a priority, simply put, because Death Runes are gonna be a lot more important. To me, it's wait and see. I still putting my bets on Runic Corruption. I like it personally. I absolutely love it. I love the simplicity and fluidity of the rotation provided by Runic Corruption. I like tracking it. I know when to track. I know basically when to pop my shit based off Runic Corruption. I know what to expect from myself. I know how to do it. I'm so used to it that maybe I'm just trying to vouch for it. But in my retrospect, it's gonna be mainly between Blood Tap and Runic Corruption. The way I see it, Runic Empowerment, and through DPS parsers and a couple decay simulations that a couple of my buddies did in beta, Runic Empowerment falls a little bit short behind the Runic Corruption, and Blood Tap falls consistently behind the Runic Corruption and Runic Empowerment. But the Blood Tap is still a known kind of an area when it comes to PvP. So all I'm saying is wait and see here, but at least you know what to expect from each of the talents. Last but not least, we have a Gorfin, Grasp, Remorseless Winter, and Desecrated Ground. First of all, guys, let's start crying, because the Hungering Cold and Desecration Ground are vanished. It's like a fucking Joker showing you the fucking magic trick and he made the pencil disappear. It's like Ghostcrawler. Yo, Death Knight, I'm gonna make your Desecration Ground and Hungering Cold disappear. Wah! And we got instead Remorseless Winter and Desecrated Ground. Now the thing about here, guys, is I don't understand. We're losing our AoE slows, yet the warrior have his piercing power buffed. So how does that work? Well, we'll see. The first one is Gorfin Grasp. It's basically you have a target and you cast Gorfin Grasp on a target, whether it's ally or it's enemy, and everybody in 10 yards around it or 20 yards are gonna be pulled into the target. It's actually very nifty. Imagine that. Solar beam on top of the one target and you're gonna be gripping everything into that solar beam. The way I see it is Gorfin Grasp is amazing, but and it's gonna be actually very good for Unholy Decay if you can put your pet somewhere and have a mage maybe grasp to your pet. Like maybe we can make actually specific macro. Target our pet, cast Gorfin Grasp, so we can, when we're dueling the mage, we can grip the mage towards it. But here's the thing, guys, the way I see it is Gorfin Grasp could be ridiculously good in RBGs. I really have high expectations of it. But for arenas and the duels, I would say it's gonna be next to useless. Or not next to useless, but the other two talents outshine it. Now Desecrated Ground corrupts the ground, basically does decent amount of shadow damage, but the main thing is while you're on the ground you are immune to any of the CCs. So let's put it this way, rocks up on you, awesome, and guess what, he puts a smoke bomb on top of you. You put a Desecration Ground and you are immune to any CC or anything he's gonna try to put into your dick. How many times rogues would disarm you, stun you, do whatever they possibly can to prevent you getting that kill on a healer? So this is where Desecration Ground will come in. It's actually gonna be very, very nifty. The only thing I don't like about it is a positioning requirement, because sometimes the only thing that people have to do is just kite. And because we don't have a Desecration Ground, we have to make sure that the target cannot blink out, heroic clip, or do whatever it is, and we'll have to slow the target down. Glyph of Death and Decay gonna be introduced in Mist of Pandaria. It will be slowing by 50%, so in that respect, maybe putting Desecration and then Death and Decay and then Desecrated Ground could provide a really good trick for us. The way I see it, it's gonna be very, very useful for a comps like PhD. It's also, if you're going to be running conversion and you can have a little bit good uptime in healing, you can afford having desecrated ground. But let's look at the remorseless winter. It's basically you putting a lot of icicles out of you. They're just spamming, and you slow the targets next to you. And after 5 seconds, if they're gonna be in the range of, I think, 10 yards, oh no, 8 yards, you're gonna be stunned for 6 seconds. I think it's amazing. DKs need a good amount of stun. Another thing is, this is the answer of us being clipped by melee all the freaking time. It's gonna be amazing in retrospect. This is gonna provide us breathing room. Think about it this way, as a 6 second, sort of like a cooldown against a melee cleave. Another thing is, it's a 1 minute cooldown versus 2 minutes on desecrated ground. Another thing what I actually absolutely love about Remorseless Winter is that you can actually peel off your healer and the luck by simply popping your Remorseless Winter and going into the melee range of whatever melee cliff that is training your warlock, your shaman, or whatever you are the partners. I'm just talking about shadow cliff. And last but not least, think about it this way. If you grip the healer and you pop Remorseless Winter and you chain advise the healer while you're training somebody else, there's a good chance you can actually stun the healer too. So it could be provided as an extra stun for you as well. So that's it, guys, about the talents. Tomorrow I'm gonna do an updated abilities and glyphs 2 videos, and on Monday it's gonna be a synergy time. Once you watched all the videos, you're actually gonna understand what I mean by synergy, how you can synergize and how you can prioritize your shit in Mist of Pandaria as a DK. At least the way I see it's gonna be like. Thank you guys for watching, and до свидания.